I got nothing against that. EduTech Guys Radio. Radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed under the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTech Guys Radio, brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools. This is David Henderson.
Hey, this is Jeff Matlock.
And I'm Greg Moore. We really have got to get down an order
we'd
for
have that down
we
by
stick
now.
to forever.
We have got to get a producer. That's
Well,
what it comes down to.
Here's the deal. I know how this works. The problem is the intro is never really polished until the 25th episode of anything. So we're getting there.
We're getting there. 2 more episodes, we'll have it down pat.
Wait, Pat? Who's Pat?
Wait, we have a new guy named Pat?
Yes,
There's
we
a
do.
new guy named Pat.
Hey, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com. We're coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative in Hope, Arkansas. I want to thank the co-op and Hope Public Schools for letting us do this each week. And I'm going to put my phone on mute so you don't have to hear the Twitter dings. So, hey, you're listening to us. We're coming to you from our beautiful studio here in the lovely East Wing of the cooperative.
On the outskirts of Hope, Arkansas.
We also want to tell you to take a look at our website, www.edutechguys.com. If you hit that one right now, you can actually find a nice little play button there and listen to the show live from the web. Or you can visit us at radio.edutechguys.com or Mixlr, mixlr.com/edutechguys. Don't forget to catch us on the Twitter at EduTechGuys. Also, David's there at David and Ark, and you can catch me at J Matlock. Going to be a fun show today. Wait for our guest. She's going to call in to us here pretty soon. And Susan Gilley from Harrison Public Schools.
Yeah, that's going to be very cool. We're waiting to see if we can get all this. Wow.
Yes.
And
hello.
I think that's her.
We're awake.
Right on cue. All right.
Turning down the monitoring on
that
the
worked out
headphones.
perfectly. Maybe. We don't know.
Cool. Hey, Susan, can you hear us?
Hey.
There we go.
Welcome aboard.
Are you good?
We're doing good. How are you?
How are you doing?
Can you hear me okay? Because we played with my mic earlier and it wasn't super loud, but is it okay?
Yeah, it sounds really good.
It sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
This is awesome. So those of you that are just tuning in, we've got Susan Gilley on the line. We're going to be talking with her today about various Google-related stuff. I think that'll be very cool. Are you good to go now? You need a couple of minutes?
No, I'm good to go.
You're good to go. Well, all right. This is Susan Gilley from Harrison Public Schools. You can get to her website, sgilley.com. That's SGILLEY.com. You can also follow her on Twitter at UniqueSuzyQ, UNIQSUSEQ.
That's got a lot of Q's. That's worth a lot in Scrabble. I don't really care what anybody says.
Hey, well, that counts as a word, although you're making me feel bad because I thought I had tried to make my Twitter handle really easy, and so now you're obviously saying it's an epic fail.
Oh, no. We love Q's.
We love Q's.
Bonus point.
Although it seems like we would be better at Q's with the whole start of the show. Like, no, it's me. No, it's Jeff. No, you did the Q's. Whatever. I was reaching for that one.
You were reaching way far. Way.
Hey, you'll be able to check that out on the Twitter at EduTechGuys. You could find Susan's link there. That's Susan's handle, Susan's Twitter name. What is that called? I always get that.
I think it's called a handle. Is it a Twitter handle? Can we agree it's a handle?
I think so.
I don't know.
Sure.
You don't care. Sure, go whatever you want. I don't care.
Hey, Susan, I'm here. I'm Jeff. I'm over in the corner.
He's the disembodied hand.
Yes.
Hey, we're really glad to have you on the show today, and we're really looking forward to picking your brain about Google Apps. We love Google Apps. We think it's the best thing that ever happened to education.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
So one of the things that we'd like you to do is introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what you do at Harrison Schools, and then we'll get into the discussion here. So tell us about Susan Gilley.
Okay. Hi, I'm Susan Gilley, and I am Assistant Superintendent at Harrison School District. I have been in education this next year 31. I started out in business ed. I probably taught business ed 15 years and then switched to a little bit of technology in business ed. And then I moved to just technology, then moved back to just business ed. Then I moved back to technology. Okay, now I can hear myself quiet.
Sorry, that's our bad.
It's just you guys. Thanks a lot. And then I moved to Harrison for instructional technology. Until the last 3 years, I've combined federal programs and instructional technology.
Awesome.
Very cool, man. You've been you don't stay put very long. You like to go back to the things you've done.
Actually, you would be surprised to know that I had taught 10 years at my first district, 14 years at the second district, and then this makes year 5 or 6 at Harrison.
Oh, well, you still got a ways to go then.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm 90 now, so about the time I'm 120, I should be good to go. Right?
That's right.
Which most students that I had my first year thought I was 90 the first year I taught. So there you go.
Well, you know, students tend to do that though. They don't make that connection.
Man, you're 27. You're ancient.
Yeah, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, my wife gets that a lot. She teaches second grade, and so they have no idea how old she is. But what really freaks them out is when students see their teachers in a different context, like at Walmart or at some restaurant or something. They're like, "Wow, you eat out?
You don't sleep at the school?"
Yeah, exactly.
You have a life. That's cool.
Yes. Awesome, cool. All right, so I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna toss a question up to you. What would you say is the minimum level of Google Apps integration that you've achieved at the district? But for example, if a teacher comes into the district, what are your expectations that teacher in the district has in terms of, or what you have for that teacher in terms of Google usage and integration in the classroom at Harrison?
Well, actually, it's both teacher and administrative assistants and other positions as well. When we posted some of those in the past year or so, where, normally you would see Microsoft Office proficiency, we listed Google Apps for Education proficiency.
Wow, yeah.
Request that we were looking for, because we do admin meetings with Google Apps. That's an integrated Google Doc, so you've got to know how to do that. High school just went 1-to-1 with Chromebooks this year, so we would anticipate that a teacher is going to use Google or be able to integrate technology as part of the mindset for them to come to work for us.
Yeah, man, that's very cool. Wow. So you pretty much expect that walking in the door.
Yes, and that includes secretaries, maintenance staff, anybody, because we may share a Google spreadsheet with them for something that we're gonna. We did a Thanksgiving dinner today at lunch, and it's nothing for us to have a shared spreadsheet. What are you going to bring for the meal?
Yeah.
And everybody just populates that with whatever they're going to bring instead of using a sheet of paper.
Exactly. That's very cool.
So at what level of integration, so like your teachers right now, are you guys using Classroom, say, what percentage in your district?
High school, some of them are using Classroom, but some of them have moved. I'm a Google fan, but some of them have moved to Schoology because they like some of the things that Schoology does just a little bit better.
Okay.
But most of mine, I have third grade teachers using Classroom, so I'd want to say probably 50%. I just had a junior high principal come in today and say, Susan, we really need 30 more Chromebooks. You're asking us to do this, and kids need a device every day. So when are you going to get us more? And we're really more than 1-to-1 in some cases, because in junior high where they're not going home, or in middle school where they're not going home, then you've got a cart per classroom. And so you got kids moving around, and you have more devices than you really have kids because you've got it in a classroom.
Sure.
So, and that's one of the reasons we jumped off 1-to-1 at high school, was we're going to end up with more devices than kids.
Right.
So we need to send them home with them. It's time. We've done some planning and preparation. We're still going to have issues. We had 2 teachers present at the school board meeting last night, kind of saying how it's going. And they were like, we're not going to lie that we haven't had some problems. There have been, we found out kids were watching movies instead of watching class.
Sure.
So we need that blocked. We need that taken care of. We need you to do something with that. But overall, it's been positive.
That's very cool. Man.
So, just as a sort of general question, I noticed you said that some things Schoology did better. What areas do you think Google Classroom could stand to improve?
One of the biggest issues I hear on Google Classroom is it needs a parent component. There is no way for parents to get in and see what students are doing, but truthfully, the classroom should be the students. So students would argue and say, well, I don't want my parents in the classroom. I'm trying to think of what Schoology, it does some quizzes possibly a little bit better. I'm trying to think of my big guy that's Schoology and why he converted them. The quiz features may be a little bit more powerful, but Google's making some huge changes in classrooms lately. I mean, if you submit, hey, we want to see this change, when a student submits a form, it shows that they've completed the assignment, and it didn't used to do that. You could submit a form, but it wouldn't show that you've done the assignment, and now it does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that we had talked about in terms of some of the positive moves that Google's made with classrooms is being able to invite or open up your classroom to other domains.
Yeah.
Now, we actually tried to play with that. In fact, it may have been like, I don't know, a couple of days after that, or I mean, it wasn't long after they had opened that up. We tried playing with it and couldn't get it to work right. I'm sure that was more operator error than anything. I was the operator, and so, but I think I wonder if, and I'm not exactly sure how all that works, but I wonder if that could potentially help solve some of that parental interaction.
Create a parent subdomain under your school account, and then add. Then you get into the issue of creating email addresses for parents.
Well, no, this actually is supposed to allow you to
Invite
whitelist.
anyone.
You could whitelist various domains.
Right. I know that.
That
they are working on the ability for us to make sure that your class can actually be publicly viewed to the front end of your class. Just like your lesson plans, assignments, and things like that. Yeah, I think that's what they're doing is they're getting ready to bring that online. That's what I've heard. So, but you're right. Schoology, is it pretty popular at Harrison?
It is for high school. Our initial stage, if we're going to do a class, I'm like, let them do classroom. It is so easy. They will understand that. They click create. They can, gather their assignments. It's not a big deal. I said Schoology is going to be several more steps for them to process through. And some of ours, it's a worksheet. They basically done a worksheet in the classroom, which they could do, in a regular classroom. But I said they have to see the process. They have to evolve to something more when they're going to do that. And I think Schoology does have that parent component as well, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. The other thing with classroom, you can share between 2 teachers. So 2 teachers can co-teach one classroom.
Right.
And they like that feature as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the features that whenever we moved to Google Apps at Hope Public Schools was one of the things that we were really we saw as a benefit was the fact that it's simpler. We were looking at it from the perspective of compared to Microsoft Office, because the vast majority of documents that are created in-house are usually they only take advantage of a handful of the features of Microsoft Office. And just like comparing Google Classroom to say Moodle or whatever, the Google Classroom is very easy to access. It's not a complicated interface. There's not much to it to begin with. So the simplicity, I think, is actually an added feature. It's a feature, not a drawback there.
Sure.
And like you were saying, get used to Google Classroom, and then if you need something more, then move up to say something like Schoology, or hang on and see what features they're going to add to Google Classroom. I think that's important, especially considering how much complication we're already adding to the classroom with just adding in devices and, okay, we've got to keep them charged and all the additional stuff that goes on related to that.
Right, yeah.
I think they've also integrated the calendar feature a little bit more in classrooms so that you can do stuff with that. And that has the potential to give parents what they really need. If they could just see a published calendar with assignments, I think that's what most parents are looking for. And Johnny goes home and they ask Johnny what he did or what he has to do, and Johnny always says, nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Today we don't have to do anything. But if a parent can see a calendar and says, well, you know, your teacher says you're supposed to be doing this. And so I think they have it fixed where you can, once you put it in your calendar, then it will also publish within the classroom or backwards, you know, whichever way it goes.
Right.
But if you can do that and do it in one step where a teacher's not having to do multiple things in order to make that happen, that'll be awesome.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you know, in that particular scenario, and again, I realize we're talking about, you know, ultimately helping teachers save steps, but in that particular scenario, at least theoretically, and I have not seen this, I have not tried it myself, but I would figure like worst case scenario, you could grab the like if you're going to publish a calendar,
The public link.
you know, the public link that.
And share that out.
Share that
either on
just
the
as
website
basically
or-
raw HTML. Basically, isn't that kind of how that
I
works?
think you can do an embeddable thing, yeah.
So
Or you can
yeah,
just share the link.
of course,
yeah.
a lot of that also comes into whatever kind of access, you know.
Right, exactly. How do you interface with your parents?
Right.
Just by default, you know, do you have a section on your website, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Man, that's cool. And anything else about Google Classroom that just kind of jumps out at you? Something that maybe some of your teachers are doing or anything that...
I'm trying to remember these two teachers presented to the school board last night. She had polled her students as to what were the pros and cons of being one-to-one and what they liked about classroom. So I'm trying to remember what she said. One, students, obviously, they didn't have to worry about paper anymore. They didn't have to find their assignment. They didn't have to look for it. And they didn't have to worry about where it was going to be when they turned it in.
Right.
Oh,
They constantly had it. They knew they liked the fact that their teacher could interact with them at any time. So, and the teacher was saying, I've even had to tell mine, look, seriously, I go to bed at 8 o'clock, so don't expect me to answer.
Right.
Because she said they would contact her at any time. They were like, oh, cool. You don't have it. And she said, I finally just had to say, look, I go to bed at 11. I mean, I go to bed at 8. She goes, I really go to bed at 11.
Right.
But I needed some downtime away from it.
Yeah.
So students just really, and one of the things, they are blocked. We use GoGuardian
Okay.
for our filter for the Chromebooks that are going home.
Right.
That's what we use for them. And the students said, we wish you would just open stuff up and teach us proper etiquette. Tell us how to use the internet correctly.
Wow, that's
We're like, we'd like to, but we had to block movies because y'all were watching movies all the time. So evidently y'all don't understand etiquette. So, but I thought that was grown up of them to ask if they could do that. So,
that really is, it's very impressive that they are thinking along those lines. You know, we understand why you're blocking us, but don't you think it'd be better if you just taught us? You know, which is a little funny. I'm assuming, and yeah, I know what assuming does, but I'm assuming the students who brought that up probably already have some of that. I mean, they're, you know, I'm sure they're already aware of some of those things. Otherwise, they wouldn't necessarily have brought it up.
Exactly.
I don't know. You know, I have a hard time imagining a student who would rather watch the video saying, no, don't let me watch. You know, teach me how to not watch videos.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, that makes perfect sense. You know, we have to be able to teach the students how to appropriately use the resources and tools that we are affording them. I mean, you know, you can't just give a kid a hammer and say, here, don't go beat your, you know, or we can't give a kid a hammer and then he hits his friend in the head. You know, we can't put a piece of wood on the Fred's head so that he doesn't hit him there anymore, right? You got to teach him, don't hit your friend in the head with the hammer.
Right, exactly.
You know.
And The other thing I want to share, one of the teachers that presented last night was a drama teacher, and she had a student that was out ill, that they were working on their speeches. So just like we're doing for this, the student did a Google Hangout, and they were working on this collaborative group speech that they were going to do, but the girl was homesick, but she could still hang out with them, still do the entire speech. They could work together, collaborate with that, and she goes, it was perfect. She said she was absent, but she was there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's that's definitely a big part of it. You know, anything, whether it's Schoology, Google Classroom, whatever, it is that ability to be there without being there.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Susan, I had a question. How many of your kids are using bringing their own devices? Do you guys mind them bringing their own devices and using with Google? Because I know my daughter loves to type papers on her phone. So.
Well, we were a bring your own device until we went one-to-one this year. And so since we went one-to-one at the high school, which is grades 10 through 12, they can still bring their device, but we turn guest off. So, and we did that intentionally. Number one, we wanted to make sure the one-to-one initiative worked. But number two, we didn't want to discriminate with devices. We wanted all the kids to have the same device. We didn't want one kid walking in with a MacBook Pro and saying, okay, I'm going to take my test, and maybe they would have features that another kid would not have. So they can still bring a device, but it's not going to connect to our network. But if they're taking a test or doing anything that's class-related, they've got to use the Chromebook that's been provided for them. And we had some parents that said, well, I already have a Chromebook. Do I have to get the one that you're providing? And we said yes, because we wanted all kids created equal. We didn't want any equity issues with that.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Do all your teachers use Chromebooks too, or are they using another device?
They have a PC still at their teacher station, but we sent all the teachers home with the Chromebook as well. And tied in with that, one of the other requests that students have is they want an access point on buses. The kids don't know that we've been looking at access points on buses. The issue with that is I got to find a way to filter it.
Right.
The cost is not so prohibitive, but filtering is, because I encourage them to use their phones. I mean, if you've got used the microphone on your phone, you could type a whole essay by the time you get to the house every day.
Sure.
So your homework could be done, and you don't even have to use your phones. You can just talk. But we've got to look at access points, and so that's one of the things we're looking at right now. If we can find a way to filter it, we may do it.
You know, next year when we all move to the Cisco with the state, they're going to provide that. So you'll be able to take your are you guys going to use hotspots? Is that what you're going to use, cellular hotspots on the buses?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
you'll be able to use
a way to proxy that so that I will be filtered?
Yes, they will. It depends on both Verizon and AT&T. I don't know who you guys use.
Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, Verizon's engineers will hard set IPs on those hotspots and actually send them back through the Cisco product that the state's going to provide with our new bandwidth. So you'll be able to do it. So we might have to wait till next year. That's kind of what we're looking at too.
Okay, cool. I'm writing this down as a note. Heard, Jeff.
Cool. And I'll tell you who shared that with me. Is one of your nearby neighbors. He's closer to you than he is us. Is Chris Knight at Carter. Yeah, Chris was the one that let me know that was the one feature they were going to offer.
Because Chris is already doing that, and I talked to him a little bit about that. But I want to say maybe he said he wasn't filtering, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we still run an iBoss filter, so if we wanted to, we could run it back through us that way. The engineers at Verizon will work with you in your hotspots to make that happen.
I think, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they could, of course, a lot of it depends on what equipment you already have in place now, but you could, since you're already in that, looking at it, rolling this out, and you're already at that place, during your research now, you may want to actually get a hold of the Verizon rep and say, and your tech person there and say, okay, here's what we have already in place. Is this something that can already be happening, or is there something else that would have to be in place, or do we need to wait till next year? I know we looked at a similar situation here at the co-op, and we're talking with our Verizon rep. And at that point, they were already talking about their engineers could route everything back through our firewall. There were some things that I would have to get with my firewall provider in order to make sure it was set up, some of the VPN type stuff, make sure that connection was there to allow that routing back. But so that may be a route you want to look at least. Again, either something that you already have in place or may have to make a minor change to, or something you say, okay, yes, we want to do this, but it is going to have to wait till the state is ready and the state network rolls out, which I don't know, and you may not know. I don't know when you're slated to roll over to the new state network, or maybe you already have, for all I know. I don't know.
No, I'm assuming that we're on tap for July 1 next year with the state, because we just got our E-rate approval. Oh my gosh, our E-rate approval for everything under the sun last week.
Yeah.
I
just got mine. Yeah, I just got mine the other day. So.
They approved every pipeline known to man.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long, hard fight just to get anything, especially the Category 1 stuff with what's going on in the state.
Best
But
case scenario for us.
yeah.
We're looking forward to it. They're actually going to move us up to 1 gig. We can't believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a big jump. We're at 300 now, which is plenty.
Yeah.
But we'll take more.
Yeah, the only time we even get close to hitting the full 300 megabit a second is whenever we're pushing an app out or whatever. And then you look at the traffic to Apple and it just squashes everything else.
Yeah, we actually have a 500 meg pipe and a 200 meg pipe.
Wow, man.
2 different providers, which we kind of liked because we had a little bit of fallover. I mean,
Sure.
if somebody was down, and there are times that different providers go down. So if somebody was down, we're like, okay, we can switch everything to the other pipe. We're good. But we won't have that when we switch to the state. So.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be several folks that are going to be in that same boat. I know here at the co-op we're going to be in that same boat. Right now I've got 2 different pipes coming in, really through 2 different delivery mechanisms, and when one goes down, it fails over to the other one till that first one comes back up. And it's happened a couple of times, not so much lately, but especially when they first put it in, and it was nice to be able to just. It's not as fast, but at least we're going.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we roll over to carrier pigeon right now.
Yes, also known as T1s, but yes, it's carrier pigeons. So just out of curiosity, for those listening, what's your total student count, just to put those bandwidth figures sort of in perspective?
We are right around 2,670 students.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much the same size we are. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're in that same area. Yeah, about 2,700, right in that area.
Yep.
Yeah, we're approximately 200 per class. Some classes, more than 200, some just under 200, but basically 200.
Yeah, man, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, listen, we're going to take a quick break here at radio.edutechguys.com. Take a listen to our featured artist of the week, Nixie. Great song here. This one's called Built for Love. We'll be right back in, say, 5 minutes with Susan Gilley.
Yeah.
Side of the tracks, ain't no way back, ain't no way to get that woman. When it all fades black, know that you can't get that, honey, you can't get back no one. So hold on to what you've got and heal the damage done. But just know you're not the only one. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. Don't let them tell you ain't good enough. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. thinking with the wrong mind. Think you better get back, woman. Back into those night moves, thinking with the right moves. Still you can't get back no one. So hold on to what you've got and heal the damage done. But just know you're not the only one. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. Don't let them tell you you ain't good enough. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. Honey, you were built for love. So hold on to what you've got and heal the damage done. But no, you're not the only one. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. Don't let them tell you you ain't good enough. 'Cause honey, you were built for love. 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 Honey, you were built for love.
Join EduTechGuys live from the 30th Annual AESA Conference in New Orleans, December 2nd through the 5th. We'll be providing day-by-day coverage as we talk with presenters, attendees, and members of education service agencies from around the nation. Get rid of the noise and listen to the music with EduTechGuys Live, December 2nd through the 5th. Brought to you by Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative, Hope Public Schools, and the Association of Education Service Agencies.
Hey, you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com, and we have Susan Gilley from Harrison on with us today from Harrison Public Schools in Harrison, Arkansas. We're glad to have her here. We're talking all about Google, and we're also talking about some stuff going on in the state with bandwidth and everything like that. But we're talking Google, we're talking one-to-one, and we're glad you're listening. Check us out on the web at www.edutechguys.com. You can catch the show from there also. Also catch us on Twitter. If you got something you'd like to ask Susan, drop us a Twitter question really quick. But yeah, we're back with Susan. Susan, glad to have you back on the show, and we'll get going again. I think Greg had a question. He wanted to jump in first.
We were talking while you guys were all listening to music, and we were discussing. I think you brought up how you've had a couple of Chromebooks fail, and we've noticed in our department at the very least, whenever we moved to one-to-one, we retired some old labs, and the way it used to work whenever we had labs and desktops and that sort of thing is a fair amount of the department's time was tied up with actually working on desktops, taking them apart, putting in a new hard drive, replacing the power supply, et cetera, et cetera. And whenever we moved more to one-to-one and we retired some of those labs, it's interesting how the industry is sort of shifting towards less end user or tech department repairable devices. An iPad breaks unless you want to unglue the screen and you actually have a way to actually buy parts for them. There is no repairing an iPad, or if you've got a company that repairs them. Chromebooks, they're a little more repairable than, say, a tablet or whatever, but the fact that they're so much cheaper, I was just wondering if you guys actually repaired Chromebooks in-house or if you just sort of wrote it off and replaced.
We We repair them in-house on things that are repairable, such as screens. They're replacing screens all the time. We keep a couple if keyboards go down, where they switch out keyboards or they switch out particular keys. We even have some students. We've got a junior high group of kids that are working on their A+ certification. They're starting to get their tech credentials, and they want to form a group called Tech on Deck, where they go and help with various issues. So they'd like to learn how to fix the screens. I said it'd be really nice if they could sit on the phone with return authorizations, so that we didn't have to sit there. You know, when you've got one you need to return that's under warranty, and you sit there for an hour talking on the phone. I said it'd be cool if kids could do that for us, because
exactly.
and they would get to learn what the return process is like.
Right.
We're kind of the same way on iPads. We have iPads we don't repair, especially like an iPad 2. What's the value of replacing that and its real usefulness now, since we're at iPad Pros coming out in a month. So we do repair our own as much as we can.
For the screen failures, I've heard various things. Are you seeing more screen failures just due to screens that go out just for whatever reason, or is it more related to accidental damage?
Well, all I see on the work orders that flies through my desk in an email is, screen replacement, and I probably see one a day of those coming through my email. And I don't always read what the reason is, whether, the dog ate it or what happened. What he was talking to me about is evidently there's a connector down at the bottom of the screen, and he said on this particular model it's coming loose. And so he said on the Samsung one, he said that was really easy to reconnect that and not be a big deal. He said this particular brand, it just takes about 20 minutes, where the Samsung model is about 5. Different models do different things, but a lot of times you don't know that until you get a batch in and the kids are working on it.
Sure. Yeah.
Another question related to hardware. So you've got a couple different models of Chromebook. How are you handling charging and storage? I know the potential there is, okay, this model takes this wattage of power adapter, and so it only works in this cart. What are your logistics for charging and storage? Is there like a central location, or is it per classroom, or what exactly?
We converted all of our laptop carts that we had and just made them Chromebook carts, and then also our one of our ag classes built Chromebook carts for us.
Oh, wow.
So probably half of our inventory. And you should have seen the kids, because they built us a prototype, then they brought it to us and say, what do you like, what do you don't like? Because they looked at an existing cart and then they built one for us. And then we kind of critiqued it and told them what we wanted them to do to tweak it. And they built some more. So they probably built 10 to 15 carts for us, and they loved it. They had such pride in that.
Oh yeah, that is awesome.
That's
You talk,
cool.
We often talk about the whole, maker space and maker movement and all that, and that's perfect. That is so cool.
Plus, that allows you to iterate
idea.
very quickly, because a lot of the time we'll get in a cart or a piece of technology or whatever, and it'll be mostly right, but it'll be one or two things where it's like, oh, gee, if it was just this way instead of that way, it would be so much easier. Where if it's all built in house, I mean, what better person to judge what is good or what is bad than education who's actually using it?
Right.
So
That's very
let's
cool.
change this. That is very cool.
Susan, do they take charging cables home with them when they go home?
The 1-to-1, all the kids got their charging cable, so they take that with them, and then we offered each of the teachers a power strip to put in the front of the room. We didn't do a long power strip so they could charge 30 at once, but the kids are supposed to charge it at home, but you think, okay, well, if I have a few kids. But I don't even think teachers have picked those power strips up in order for kids to charge. The battery lasts so long, so for the most part, I think kids are charging them, because I haven't heard issues on that, and more teachers saying, hey, I need a power strip. They're making do.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's so nice to finally have gotten to the point where batteries last all day.
Yeah.
I remember when we had laptop carts and they had these gigantic external batteries that you had to, and then even then it would only run like 3-4 hours, you know.
And some of us have been around long enough. We remember when there were no batteries.
Man, I have to get more than 12 feet away from the wall. I need another extension cable.
Yeah, my bag phone had to plug in the car. So that's
Yeah, the manual. Yeah, that's right. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, what are some of the, and I'm going to call them the Formula One additions, extensions, add-ons, those kinds of things that you like to use, that you like to show off, that you like to train teachers, or when you're presenting. I know you do a lot of presentations, conferences. So what are some of the cool Google stuff,
the
Google
killer apps.
things, that you like to talk to people about?
I actually have a top 10 list that I use. I should have pulled up that presentation, Google's top 10 ideas of what to use. I'm just going to go through some of my favorites, and I'm reading these off one of my new favorites. I always tell teachers anything that Google has, it's the name of the tool.google.com. So I said, if you want to do Hangouts, it's hangouts.google.com. If you want to do docs, docs.google.com.
Yeah.
One of the new things that they have is something called Keep.
Yes, Google Keep.
Google.com, which is just sticky notes in the cloud. I use it all the time. You can share sticky notes. Do you like that, Jeff?
Yes, Jeff is a big fan of Keep.
He is a very big fan of Keep.
I canceled my Evernote subscription. I don't need Evernote anymore. I'm just using Google Keep.
Well, I love Keep, and here's a trick that I tell them. I'm trying to keep track of what I do with my job, which is the multi-hat job of all the different things. So in the event someday I'm not doing this job and somebody else wants it, and they wonder, what did Susan do all day long? So I'm naming my notes a day of the month. And when that month is, it's kind of my to-do list of, hey, what else am I going to do? And then you can take your Keep note and turn it into a Google Doc. So then I have a list. Hey, here's what I did in August. Because I like to, you can put a box with it. I like to check things off and let it draw the line through it so that I feel like I've done it instead of just hitting the big X over there on the right-hand side. So Keep is one of my favorite. I also like that you can share it with two people. So if I want to, instead of turning in a ticket to my tech department, if I want to ask them something instead of emailing them, I put it on a Keep note, and then if they take care of it, they just check the box, and we don't have to email back and forth and talk about it.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
They show me that they've done it.
Yeah, a tool related to that I use quite a bit is called Todoist, TODOIST.com. And just due to the nature of our jobs, it's some people really love to use calendar for scheduling out everything, but tech work is such a reactive sort of thing. You can't really schedule a lot of it. So checklists are super handy, and Todoist really makes that because you can set alarms and repeats and that sort of thing.
Well, I'll put my Google Keep up against your Todoist any day.
We're gonna have a cage fight between Todoist
I'll
and
see
Keep.
your Todoist and raise you a Google Keep. All right, so how about another one? What else? What some other cool things?
And then let's see. My next favorite is a little tweak that I have learned with Google email addresses. My email address is sgilley@hps, but if I had students that I wanted to log in to Weebly and create a Weebly account, you usually have students who say, well, I can't remember my password, and so you spend all day long trying to get them to remember their password. So one of the tweaks that I tell teachers is don't let them use their email address, use yours. Because you can do sgilley plus, anything after the plus sign, Google ignores.
Yep.
Right.
And so you could do sgilley plus John Jones at HPS, got all that right. And then when John Jones can't remember his email address, he can hit forgot password. He puts in sgilley plus John Jones. It comes to the teacher. The teacher can reset his password and get him into that account and do whatever they want to do.
That's
So I
interesting
like
usage of
sgilley
that.
plus.
That's a great usage of that.
That really is. That's we
use that particular trick in several
Bravo.
different things. But I've never thought about using it as sort of like a teacher management of student devices.
Yeah.
That's very clever.
I should just do that for all my users, and then my life would be easy.
Well, and here's what I thought too is when I sign for accounts on various things. Let's say I want a Pinterest account or whatever. I could do S Gilley plus Pinterest.
Sure.
And then when it comes into my email, I can just search for the plus Pinterest emails and know where I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we do that. Greg and I, we do that pretty heavily with all of our Apple Dep and everything like that. The other thing people don't realize is that the dot is not recognized.
Right.
Actually, the dot's just for us. So when we put things after
you can add as many dots as you want, or you can take all the dots out, and it's at the same email address according to Google.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a great one, Susan. Thank you for that one. I'm gonna tweet that out later.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool.
And so my next one, how many use Google Docs, is what I always tell them. And I said, how many of you click to share it? So you click on the little button, say you're going to share, and you get that URL that you're going to share with somebody. And typically what you're going to do is you're going to email that link to them and then say, click on file and make a copy. And most of the times when you do that, the teacher's going to email you back, or the person's going to say, hey, I can't type on this document that you sent me. It's view only. And you're like, I know. I did that on purpose.
Yes. We have encountered this.
So here's the trick. You copy that URL, paste it into the browser, and if you'll erase everything at the end, at the very end there's a slash mark and it says edit, EVIT and something. If you'll erase all of that where it says edit and put the word copy, as soon as they paste that link, it will pop up and say, make a copy.
That's brilliant.
Oh, my
You're the
Did
stuff.
I tell you? I told you.
You are the queen.
I told you she is
I'm
the
getting a
Google...
tattoo this weekend right here with your name on my shoulder.
That's right. I told these guys, I said,
And
I'm
today on
telling you...
EduTech Guys, we get schooled by Susan Gilley.
Yep, I told her. I said,
one of my favorite. When people see that, they're like, "Oh my God, you're killing me."
Yes,
Brilliant.
the light bulbs in this room above our heads are so bright, it's washed out everything else. That is phenomenal.
Just when we think we're the smartest guys out there, we get schooled. It's lovely. That's a great one. Thank you for that one.
That never happens. I never think I'm the smartest guy out there.
I think these guys are the smartest guys. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, and so here's my next one. I usually tell teachers, it always turns out you found this document that you need to edit, but nobody can find it in any version. It's a Word, it's just a printed sheet of paper, and they're like, but I just need to fix this one word, but I'm going to have to retype the whole thing because I don't have it in any editable format, PDF or whatever. So Google will convert that for you. So if you take the PDF, you put it in your copy machine, scan it, send it to you, and then download it to your computer, and then upload it into a Google folder. There's your PDF. And if you'll right-click on that file, open with Google Docs, it's going to appear in the Google Doc format. And the first time somebody told me that, I'm like, okay, cool. And then you click on it, it's like, it's just a picture. Hey, that's not what I want. I told you I wanted to type on it. Well, here's the key. You click on the picture and hit delete, and all the text is down below for you to edit and do whatever you want to do.
That's brilliant.
Oh, my gosh. My mind is blown.
I was going to say, this room is now a mess with all the brains that have exploded from minds being blown.
I gotta go.
Yeah, we encounter that with stuff that's been scanned by our administration all the time. And, there's a bunch of different OCR websites out there that try to do it, but it always winds up just destroying the formatting. Yeah, that's a very handy
do it
feature.
straight in Google Docs. And the key, I think, is that what you mentioned, deleting what looks like the image of the document. So that's awesome. Man, keep them coming. What else you got? Holy cow.
I want to say one of the key things that we use Google Docs, besides our admin meetings and all that kind of stuff, we also use it for discipline. So each of our teachers have an icon shortcut on their desktop that goes to a Google form, and that form submits a discipline issue. So they turn in Johnny for whatever, and then that goes to our principal. And then initially I used a Google script so that when the principal did the issue, he said, okay, I gave him ISS or OSS or whatever the issue was.
Sure.
he used the scripts that he ran, and it automatically sent an email back to the teacher. Hey, you turned Johnny in for a cell phone this morning. I assigned him lunchtime detention, and this is what happened. And the teachers love it because it's immediate feedback.
Sure.
But also for our principals, anytime you use a form, there's the automatically summary of responses where you have those charts that tell you, how many issues you had with the form.
Oh, yeah.
So we have tons of graphs and data. And one principal that I have that's using that, he started out 3 years ago, 1,500 discipline issues.
Wow.
And this year, he's down to 300.
Nice.
Wow.
And mainly that's because you can track the discipline. You know what hour the discipline's happening. You can talk to the teachers that are using the discipline. And the teachers get feedback because Johnny always goes back to the class and said, hey, principal didn't do anything. I'm good. I'm cool. But I have since learned you don't have to use a script. So for my latest principal that I signed up for using discipline, he is using an add-on to a spreadsheet called Form Mule.
I'm sorry, Form Mule?
Form Mule. like the donkey.
Like the donkey. Okay, just making sure we're all on the same page. All right. Form Mule.
It's pretty snazzy. You just add it on to a spreadsheet, and basically what it is a template of an email, and then you pull in the variables. So if you say, whatever the top of your spreadsheet is a person's name or the discipline issue or whatever, you just pull those variables across, and then it sends an email based on whatever you set up. It's
Very
really
nice.
That's very cool. Yeah.
He likes that because it's easier than the script was.
Right.
Really.
Sure.
I have people across the state that are saying, hey, I got the copy of the script that you're using. Could you help me fix it because it's got some issues? So Formule's a nice alternative to that.
Cool.
Oh, what else do I use? There's one called Row Call, like row your boat. And you can take a spreadsheet, and let's say it has 3 columns, and it will take sort everything in every column based on whichever column you want it to sort it by. So if the first column is teacher name, and you've got George, Fred, and Martha, and George, Fred, and Martha, and you want to see which teachers have turned in issues all year, Roll Call will split that out, and you'll see a spreadsheet for each teacher's name down at the bottom.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Or if you wanted to see, how many times was Johnny tardy third hour? It'll split it by period, it'll split it by kid, it'll split it by teacher.
That's very cool.
Very handy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And that's Row Call?
Row Call, ROWCALL.
Cool. Yeah, Row Call.
And the distinction is that people need to realize is there are add-ons for sheets, there are add-ons for docs, and there are add-ons for forms.
Right.
So a lot of times you'll hear about an add-on and you're like, I can't find it. Just tell me this cool add-on, but they may be in the wrong type of Google thing.
Right.
Okay, sure. So definitely application-specific add-ons.
Right.
Right.
Cool.
I use Autocrat, but I have told people since then to, if I ever bring up the word Autocrat, to not bring it up again because it's really mail merge. I love it. I use it to send out. As soon as they submit the form and give me feedback, it automatically sends them a PDF of certificate based on what they put in their form.
Cool.
So, and then my favorite, we'll end with my favorite, is a Choice Eliminator. It is a form add-on, and it allows you to set up for parent-teacher conferences. You can set up choices. Say you want an option from 8 to 8:15, 8:15 to 8:30, 8:30 to 8:45, etc.
Sure.
And as soon as somebody selects one of those choices, they disappear.
Right. So you
For subsequent people who come to
right,
the
exactly.
form.
So you don't get double booked.
Yeah.
So you don't get double booked. And then the add-on has also been added to, if you're going to do it for a workshop, a series of workshops, sessions, you can now fix it. So, okay, I have a workshop on Google Docs. I want 10 people to be in that. And once 10 people have selected it, it disappears.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
It is, and it is very simple, really very simple to use.
So have you run into an issue where two people have selected the same spot? You know, they both had the form on their computer at the same time. One person submits before the other person, but it hadn't been updated, of course, because they're currently in the form. So when they submit, is there handling in built in for that?
If all things are perfect, I have had some people try it like on a campus with 600 students, and Google doesn't refresh fast enough, and they'll let them go ahead and take both. But if there's enough downtime between that, which could be as much as 15 seconds or as little as 15 seconds, it will tell the second person, hey, by the way, you hit submit too slow, so that option is gone now.
Nice.
You'll have to pick something else.
Nice. That's very cool. That is awesome.
That's very handy.
Man.
And of course, all of those are free.
Free.
They're free. Free. Our favorite four-letter F word.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, that is phenomenal, man.
Awesome tips.
Well, and that's the best part. We like to end every show with a Google tip of the week, and today we just hit the mother load. So I mean, it was like
we aren't going to have any tips of the week for the next month. We're going to have to recycle
all of our tips
episode.
from the past look just like, oh, you guys just stink. So.
Well, and I would say every resource I've talked about, every presentation that I've done are available on my website at sgilley.com. So anything is underneath presentations. One of the biggest things I've been pushing at the latest conference is encouraging teachers to do their own web pages and keeping the web pages up to date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I told my teachers is, how many of you traveled this summer and Googled where you were going to eat? And based on what you found out on Google, decided where you were going to eat. And I said, now think about your web page and how many of you want to eat at the restaurant that is your classroom based on your web page.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
So, and then I show them that you can take a simple Google Doc and that can be your web page.
Yes, yes.
So I show them how to publish a documented web page and give them the option that within 60 seconds every week they can have an up-to-date web page easily.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it takes forever. And I think that's unfortunately in a lot of places, especially if you don't have a website that's as easily updatable, it takes you way longer than that just to get in to edit the page. Where if you're you're setting up either a shared Google Sheet or a site, even a Google Doc that you've got shared out, and it's put in the right place. Man, you go in, you update it, boom, it's done. You're in, you're out.
Yeah, a lot of
awesome.
CMSs put the mess in CMS. They're just way too complicated.
Yes, cool. Man, well, once again, thank you very much for joining us today, Susan. That has been awesome.
Yes, indeed.
We certainly appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us and giving us some truly mind-blowing Google tips. Schooling us in Google Schoolage.
Well, I appreciate
you're listening to radio.edutechguys.com, and did I jump ahead?
She didn't get to say goodbye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Susan.
No, I was just going to say I appreciate you guys having me. You have no idea how nervous I was about doing this. But feel free to tweet me questions or check out my website and email me if you have questions, and I'll try to respond.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, if you want to check that out, we just tweeted out Susan's website, sgilley.com, sgilley.com. It is a wonderful website, lots of stuff on there. Check her out online at UNIQ, SUSEQ. That's at Twitter, and so you can send her a tweet anytime, and I'm sure she'll respond to you. Yes, great day here at the EduTech Guys. We got schooled, and it was wonderful because I love learning new stuff.
That's right.
And I can't wait to share it as if it's my own. Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And this is David Henderson. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.